Right, hello. If you could just introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about the group that you're involved in.
I'm Malcolm Clark, I'm chairman of the Wiltshire Badger Group, and we're a voluntary group within Wiltshire dedicated to the care, survival and help of badgers.
Okay, could you briefly outline the government's plan for the cull that's happening at the moment?
It's a chaotic plan fathered on political dogma, not on science. Basically, within Somerset and Gloucestershire, they're going to have huge areas in which they propose to wipe out the badger population. They're going to take out 70% of the badgers over a 5-year period. And none of it is based on science. There's nothing to support the plan other than political dogma.
So what does the Wiltshire Badger Group propose to do as an alternative?
Well, we as part of the Badger Trust, the national umbrella organisation, have been campaigning for months now to get it stopped. A lot of the campaigning is taking place naturally in Somerset and Gloucestershire, but we've been working within Wiltshire as well, trying to get as many signatures on the petition as we can. We're up over 200,000 at the moment, and get as much support as we can, because it's an unscientific, illogical decision, and it's in actual fact going to make matters worse if the scientists are to be believed. But the government doesn't want to listen to them. You have the top 10 scientific brains in the country who've signed a letter to the government saying this is not going to work, this is going to be counterproductive, but the government doesn't listen. All it's interested in is listening to the farming voice. And only a few years ago, Marek Raymond, their vice president, said, unless the government introduces wildlife culls on badgers, we will not support any move on cattle movement restrictions. Now, cattle movement restrictions have been shown to be exactly what works. Northern Ireland, some years ago, they introduced strict cattle control. If you had to have your cattle tested before movement, quarantine it, move it, and then test it again. What happened? They brought down TB by 40% a year. This government's plan now is to make a marginal 20% reduction at absolute best over 5 years and not deal with the cattle issues. But the way they're going about it, they're going to have these culls in Gloucestershire and Somerset. They're doing other things as well. So if there's an improvement in TB, how are they going to be able to say it's caused by the cattle controls or the badger cull? The farmers will jump on it and say, oh, it's all to do with the badger cull. Of course they will, because that's what they want to hear, because it has a minimal effect on them. They want a scapegoat. That's all the farmers want, is a scapegoat, rather than have something that's actually going to solve the problem. But in the process, it costs them some money. I mean, as it is at the moment, when something dies of TB, a cattle is slaughtered for TB, the farmer gets compensation. To introduce the controls needed on the farm to keep badgers out, because there can be a small chance of infection from a badger, but mainly there's a chance of infecting the badger from the cattle. There's also that to be considered. How does the badger get it in the first place? And there's a jolly good question. But the randomised badger culling trial, a £50 million, 10-year scientific research project carried out in this country, the gold standard in scientific research. And what does it say? It says badger culling can make no meaningful contribution to TB control in Britain, but cattle movement controls can make a significant difference. And what does the government do? Ignores its own science.
So if people feel as strongly as you obviously do about this situation, how can they get involved?
Well, first of all, go onto the Badger Trust website and sign the petition. The more signatures we have, the better. Write to your MPs, write to the paper, write to the Prime Minister, and of course the dear old Owen Paterson, who seems to be absolutely fixated on this plan, and tell them what you think. Because at the end of the day, politicians are interested in one thing only, and that's getting back into power. And if you say, I'm not going to support you next time, if they get enough letters saying that, they start to think. And that's the only thing that will work, public opinion. So join the Badger Trust and write letters, sign petitions. It's the only way it's going to work.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.